Taiwan, I'm Yvonne with news from here in Taiwan and around the world. President Lai Ching-te is calling for unity in the Indo-Pacific to combat authoritarianism. He made a comment in the U.S. territory of Guam, the fourth stop of his Pacific tour. As Rick Gower reports, Lai's been meeting U.S. officials and lawmakers despite objections from Beijing.
This is Guam's governor's house, and on his quick visit to this US territory, Taiwan's President Lai Ching-te is meeting with the governor and members of the island's Congress. It's his fourth stop on his whistle-stop tour of the Pacific, shoring up ties in this all-important strategic region. Officials from Guam and Taiwan said they could increase cooperation in areas like the economy, health and tourism, touting the resumption of direct flights between the two islands. Lai also reportedly had a phone call with the US House Speaker Mike Johnson while in Guam, the first direct conversation between them since Lai took office. This is the second time Lai has visited US soil on this tour. He first made a trip to Hawaii, and these so-called US stopovers are the most sensitive parts of his trip. China claims Taiwan as its own and objects to any recognition of it as a nation. Beijing is widely expected to retaliate military drills when Lai wraps up his trip.
面对极权主义的扩张，所有理念相近的国家和地区，唯有团结合作，才能稳固印太地区的民主、和平跟繁荣。
And here in Guam, home to a big US military base, the Speaker of the Congress says she received pressure from Chinese diplomats here in the US not to engage with Taiwan. Lai's message here in Guam is one that he has repeated over and over on his Pacific tour, that Taiwan has every right to go out into the world and to forge connections, and that in doing so, he will benefit not only Taiwan, but also the region. John Su and Rick Lowett in Guam, United States for TaiwanPlus.
The issue of reproductive rights is back in the nation's legislature, with more than a dozen amendments being debated by lawmakers on Thursday. And one issue in particular relating to surrogate mothers is causing a backlash. Joyce Sten is following the debate on the Assisted Reproduction Act for us from our Taipei newsroom. Joyce, why is this so controversial?
Hey Yvonne, lawmakers have begun reviewing a set of 16 bills put forward by different political parties to broaden assisted pregnancy or reproduction laws. This is a big deal for single women and same-sex couples who are currently banned in Taiwan from accessing procedures like IVF. Now, aside from single women and same-sex couples, the original package of proposed amendments had also included granting access to surrogate mothers. Now, surrogacy is illegal in Taiwan, and there have been strong protests by anti-surrogacy activists who want to keep it that way. Their argument is that surrogacy is likely to exploit economically disadvantaged women. They also say that this is not just renting a womb, this is asking another woman to take on unpredictable health risks, which is why these activists don't believe that a woman can fully consent to being a surrogate.
我们反对任何形式的代孕。
Even if there's a perfect law that protects the
We don't believe that there is a perfect law. We don't believe that. 因为国外的经验就是告诉我们，就是你再怎么样的法，就是会有一些状况发生。但是，而且这个不应该让它存在。那其实这个背后其实存在就是我们要有我们自己血缘的孩子。其实要打破的是这个，为什么我们一定要有自己血缘的孩子？爱不应该因为血缘而受到限制。
Well, the Health Ministry has agreed to consider the issue of surrogacy separately to the bills relating to single women and same-sex couples, which is less controversial. But pressure is on the government. Taiwan has one of the lowest fertility rates in the world, and the population is in decline. Now, anti-surrogacy activists here would argue that the government should not commodify women's bodies to boost birth rates, but at the same time, others have maintained that surrogacy is a viable option for those who want but cannot have children. So a lot of ethical intricacies to consider here for these lawmakers. Yvonne?
Yes, indeed, and we'll be monitoring developments as lawmakers continue to review the bills. Thank you, Joyce. That was Joyce Sten live in Taipei. Delivery drivers are angry about plans to merge the country's two top food delivery apps. They say they've been left out of talks with the government and are worried it will form a monopoly that would hurt not just them, but restaurants and customers too. John Van Trieste reports.
The sound of around 200 scooter horns honking at once rends the air outside the Fair Trade Commission. Inside, behind closed doors, officials are meeting with business reps to discuss the takeover of food delivery app Foodpanda's operations in Taiwan by rival Uber Eats. The takeover plan has been in place since May, but a decision on whether to let it go ahead is due by December 19th. And so delivery drivers, against the idea from the start, are here with their scooters to make a final pushback. They say even with the market split between them, the two apps have been able to maximize their profits at the expense of drivers, eateries, and consumers.
平台过往可以片面砍司机的薪水，片面提高店家的抽成，甚至片面对消费者巧立名目，增加额外的费用。
And they say they worry a takeover would create a monopoly, under which drivers, eateries, and customers would lose even more. They aren't alone in their concerns. The Labor Ministry has also told the Commission it opposes a takeover. On the business side, there are huge profits to be made. Over the decade the two apps have been in Taiwan, the size of the market has surged. There was an 18-fold spike in credit card spending on delivery during the COVID years. And while that boom is over, even as of last year, credit card spending on delivery was still up, nearing $3 billion nationwide. As observers note, the industry is also not subject to any specific regulatory laws or jurisdiction from any government body.
机车快递这部分只有指导原则，那我们现在交通部为什么没有办法？
And protesters say until these kinds of regulations are in place, the Fair Trade Commission should reject any takeover. Though they're annoyed they've been excluded from talks on the matter, they have a petition to deliver to the Commission, which is keeping its cards close to its chest, promising a fair review of the takeover proposal.
公平交易委员会也一定会审慎严肃地考量这一个结合案对竞争的影响，然后依法，然后做出一个审慎的一个决定。
What it decides will be consequential in a country where food deliveries become a way of life, affecting millions of customers, hundreds of thousands of restaurants, and the 160,000 drivers nationwide who connect them. Ryan Wu and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
A hiker is dead and 3 others are injured after a rockfall on a mountain in New Taipei. Rescue workers carried a comatose 70-year-old woman down from a trail on Jilong Mountain, who was later pronounced dead. The local district office says recent unstable weather conditions loosened soil in the area. The path has since been closed, and hikers are being warned to take extra precautions and stick to official trails. South Korea's president is facing impeachment as the fallout from his shock declaration of martial law continues. Opposition leaders officially filed a motion to impeach President Yoon Suk-yeol in the early hours of Thursday morning, while thousands of angry protesters remain on the streets of Seoul demanding his resignation. The opposition Democratic Party has condemned the martial law declaration as insurrectionary behavior. The ordeal is also impacting Yoon's People Power Party, with several senior ministers offering their resignation, including the country's defense minister Kim Yong-hyun. A former army general has been nominated to take his position. Parliament will vote on Yoon's impeachment by Saturday. Hong Kong airline Cathay Pacific has apologized for offering an in-flight TV episode of the show Family Guy that references China's Tiananmen Square massacre. In the episode, a character is seen joining the famous Tank Man, a lone protester who stood in front of Chinese tanks at the 1989 student protest in Beijing. A social media user said that the episode may violate Hong Kong's 2020 national security law by spreading subversive ideas, leading the airline to remove it. The Tiananmen incident is heavily censored in mainland China. Since 2020, Hong Kongers attempting to mark the incident have faced prosecution under the national security law. An unknown illness has killed at least 143 people in the Democratic Republic of Congo in Central Africa. Infected people experienced flu-like symptoms, according to authorities from Congo province in the country's southwest. They say women and children have been the most vulnerable to the disease, and healthcare resources are scarce in the rural area where the outbreak is ongoing. A medical team has been sent to the region to conduct testing. The World Health Organization says it's aware of the outbreak and is working with local authorities to investigate. The UN has recognized Japan's traditional sake-making process as an intangible cultural heritage. Brewers in Japan hope the recognition will help an ancient industry that's seen better days. Bryn Thomas has the story.
Chief brewer Maisako Koichi uses a recipe he's followed throughout his career. A formula that some version of or another has been used for over a millennium.
でこのタンクの中にはお米と麹と水、あとイースト菌ですねが入って今ですね約20日間20日間発酵しててあと1週間ぐらいあと7日間ぐらいでお酒が出来上がります。
The concoction of water, rice, yeast starters, and koji, a culinary mold, will eventually turn into sake, an aromatic sweet and sour alcoholic drink beloved in Japan and known worldwide.
で発酵させてお米が届いてお酒になるまでに約2ヶ月かかります。で一番酒造りで重要なのが水です。この水はですねこの地下150メーターから汲み上げた天然水を使って醸造しています。
Traditional sake brewing follows a three-step preparation known as sandanjikomi. This method allows multiple fermentation stages to occur at the same time in a single container, and it is so deeply rooted in Japanese culture that UNESCO has recognized it and the brewing process as a whole as intangible cultural heritage.
酒造り、自体が珍しいし、それが1000年以上も続いてきたと。でしかも日本の生活文化に密接に結びついているということで、やっぱり日本としても今後もやっぱり大事にしていかないといけない宝物の一つだし。
Many in the sake industry hope the recognition breathes new life into an industry that's been hit hard by economic turmoil, climate change, and competition from Western spirits.
国内マーケットはですね、飲酒人口の減少だとか、他のお酒がたくさん競合するお酒がたくさんあるとかですね、経済状況の関係から、国内マーケットはあまり良くない状況です。
The climate too is working against the brewers. Not far from Ishikawa Brewery, unseasonably warm weather this year saw snow come later to nearby Mount Fuji than ever before.
例年に比べてかなり厳しい状況ですね。まだまだ暖かいですし、でもうそろそろ12月にもなるのにまだ暖かいという状況ですし、あと米の価格も高いというのが、で収穫量も少ないっていうので厳しい酒造りを強いられています。
Industry insiders point to the example of traditional Japanese cuisine, which the UN listed in 2013 and has proven wildly popular abroad. They hope similar recognition of sake results in a spike in exports.
ユネスコに登録されて和食は世界中で広まりました。そのことが日本酒でも起こるんじゃないかなと期待しています。なので弊社的にも輸出が今増えてますし、それが加速されてもっと輸出が増えるんじゃないかなって期待しています。
A UNESCO committee session in Paraguay recognized the brewing technique on Wednesday. It's a move that could provide a new future for a beverage tied to Japan's past. Fu Huaheng and Bryn Thomas for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. You can visit the TaiwanPlus website or follow our social media for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Finally, we take you to rural Germany, where swimmers braved 2-degree temperatures to say goodbye to their local pool's open season with one final dip. I'm Yvonne. Take care, and I'll see you next time.